Alright, so today we're going to see if we can beat Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Elden Ring only using the Claymore in this Claymore Marathon. Now this thumbnail might look familiar, and well, that's because I stole this video idea from Distortion 2. You should check out his original video on the Moonlight Greatsword. Once you're done with this one, what can I say? It was a damn good thumbnail. But because I'm not a speedrunner or pro player by any means, and have only played each of these games once casually besides Elden Ring, I didn't deserve the fancy speedrunner sword. I deserve Casual Man's sword, the good old reliable Claymore. So we'll be going along and seeing how this sword holds up in all the games. And before you call me out, I know this sword is also in Demon Souls. I just don't have a PS3 or 5 and didn't want to emulate the game as my first time playing it. Anyways, enough of the intro, let's dive into it. The only rule I guess I have is once to obtain the Claymore, I must only use the Claymore. Anyways, enough of the intro, let's dive into it. Where it all began, Dark Souls 1. So we choose the Thief class for the Master Key. We choose our gift as the Black Firebomb, and we start our journey. We spawn in the Undead Asylum, make our way to the first bonfire, and as you can see in the top right, we do have a timer, mainly because I'm curious how long it'll take me to beat all 4 of these games back to back to back, as someone who is really bad at Dark Souls 1 and 2. 3 and Elden Ring play very similar, so because I have a lot of experience in Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3 wasn't terrible either. So we chose the Black Firebomb so we can bomb the Asylum Demon here, so that's how we're going to start this fight out. We're just going to be throwing bombs at him, getting very low. As you can see, he's doing a big chunk of his HP, and now that he has a little bit left, we're actually going for melee to save the firebombs for later. We just get close to him, start slashing him until we finish off the Asylum Demon. Now the Asylum Demon is dead. We go grab the key and make our way outside of the Asylum. We take the Crow Express over to the Firelink Shrine. We then make it down to the New Londo Ruins, use our Master Key right here to get into the Valley of the Drakes, and we only do this so we can pick up a couple of large souls. We grab one right there, and then we make it over to this dragon to grab another one. After that, we try to take on Havel, but we just get owned over and over again. So it's time for Undeadburg. We make a quick stop at this chest right here and grab the gold pine resin from inside, because that'll make the Taurus Demon a lot easier. So we apply it to our little dagger here, and we start going in on the Taurus Demon, and as you can see, we're currently 25 minutes in. I was basically very persistent on trying to kill Havel, and eventually just realized that I am not good enough to take him on this early, so I decided to just take on the Taurus Demon instead, and died to him a couple of times. The lightning damage makes it a lot easier, as you can see how much damage we're doing constantly, and we take out the Taurus Demon just by sticking by his kneecaps, achieving us victory. And now we're pretty close to the Claymore, as it's just on this bridge right here guarded by this dragon. I try to bait out the fire, but he doesn't bite, so I just had to run up and grab it myself. So I do just that. I run by these guards here and I grab the Claymore before getting taken out by the fire by the big dragon, because it just does so much damage. Now we have the Claymore, but we don't have the levels required to use it. Time to just go kill a bunch of things. And by the time we make it to the blacksmith, we have gained enough souls from just killing everything along the way to allow us to level up here to get the strength required to properly wield the Claymore. We then get our Claymore to +1, and before we make it over to the gargoyles, we stop by Knight Lotric, and we decide to take him on because, one, he kills the Firekeeper at the Firelink Shrine, and I don't want that. I made me actually very, very upset when he did that in my first playthrough, so it was time to take him on here, and he actually gives us a ring, which will be super useful to us, so we finally kill him, granting us the Ring of Favor and Protection, and that is basically the equivalent to Elden Ring's Erdtree's Favor. It boosts HP, stamina, and equip load, but the only catch with this ring is if I take it off at any point, the ring breaks and I can't use it anymore. And now it's time to take on the gargoyles. Except I got invaded by this man in Havel armor. It's like he's clearly just picking on me, because look at this. I just got instantly owned right there trying to enter the fog gate, which was annoying. You know, I don't like being bullied like that, but since he killed me and re-hollowed me, I would not be able to get invaded again. So now it is time to take on the twin gargoyles here. And the gargoyles, I do quite a bit of damage to, because the Claymore is pretty strong. Probably one of my favorite attacks that was kept through all of the games is the running spinning slash, because when you do running light attack, it does a spinning move. They actually change it later, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But that's probably my favorite move of the Claymore itself. I've been at this challenge for a week and a half now, so I haven't really got to catch up with the Summer Games Fest, Xbox Showcase, Capcom Showcase, Ubisoft Showcase, etc. First off, we'll start off with the Summer Game Fest, as that happened first. They announced the Mortal Kombat 1, which is cool because Mortal Kombat was one of the games from my childhood that I played quite a bit. I feel like I might give it a try, who knows. I kind of like fell off of the whole fighting game thing. I don't really pay much attention to those games or play them much, but it's still cool to see like the characters that I used to like to play, like Liu Kang, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden, those sort of guys being used in that sort of manner. I like what they're doing with the cameo system. They showed Alan Wake 2 gameplay, which kind of reminds me of Resident Evil. I never played Alan Wake 1, so I don't really know what's going on with that game, but I might actually try it out. It does look pretty good, I can't lie. Spider-Man 2 was also given a release date, which is pretty sick. Although I won't be able to play that because PS5 only. Don't own a PS5. They announced the Prince Persia game. It's a Metroidvania. So that's pretty cool. We have killed the gargoyles. We then ring the bell here, getting bell 1 of 2, 1 hour in. So the way this game is sectioned out is in 3 sections. You do the 2 bells, then you do the 4 lords, and then it is time for the final boss area. I then make my way over to the Darkroot Garden and make my way over to the Moonlight Butterfly. The reason why we are fighting this boss, because I'm pretty sure it's optional, I don't think you need to fight this boss at all, is because we just want levels. Right now I am struggling. I will admit, this older movement, this clunkier, I can't grasp it. If I'm honest, I just kind of suck at this game, and as horrible as it is, that's the truth. I just need to accept that I am bad at Dark Souls 1 and 2. They have this sort of similar style. Dark Souls 2 makes it a little bit easier because you can up your iframes, quote unquote, by leveling up a certain stat to a crazy amount. Kind of annoying that you have to do it in the first place, but whatever. But Dark Souls 1, I can never time the dodges right. If I wasn't light rolling, I was struggling. Yeah, a lot of this fight is just me waiting around for it to land, trying to dodge everything, and then just beat away at it when it does land until we eventually do kill the Moonlight Butterfly, granting us its soul and a bunch of souls along with it. Use that to level up. And now I was going to grind down here in the garden because I wanted to get 20,000 souls to open up that gate back there. I wanted to get out of the way while I was here. Probably not the most efficient, but when I set a goal for myself, I can't kind of just get obsessed with it and have to get it finished. So that's exactly what happened here. And then boom, we buy the Crest of Victorious. This is a later game area, so I'm not going to take it on because I just won't stand a chance, but it'll be nice to have for later in the game. Now it's time for Blighttown. Luckily I took the back route, so it wasn't as challenging. I remember running through the front route my first playthrough, going the long way, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible, but I probably should have went that way because currently I am very underleveled and not good enough to justify being underleveled. So I make it over to Quelaag only to die over and over and over again. I decided it was time to backtrack and go the other route so I could pick up some souls for myself to gain some levels. So I go say hello to Solaire, and then I head over to the basement. And I know I don't need to kill the Capra Demon, but this one was kind of a spite kill. The first time I played through this game, I'm not gonna lie, I used a YouTube video that showed me how to cheese it by shooting an arrow in the air or throwing bombs at a certain trajectory so it'll kill him without even having to enter the gate. I 100% cheesed him because he was pissing me off. In this playthrough, this time I needed to prove to myself that I wasn't that same person and I could kill the Capra Demon. Although pretty cheesy, I'm not gonna lie, I still did it. So I would bait him to try to fall off and go for punching attacks, and I would try to repeat this and play super safe to kill the Capra Demon. But anyways, like I was saying in the previous fight, Summer's Game Fest, they also announced Sonic Superstars. I'm a big Sonic fan, not gonna lie. I haven't played some of the newer Sonic games, but this one does look very, very much like Sonic that I enjoy. So I'll give it a try. Pal World Pokemon with guns essentially is how everyone's been explaining it. My friends showed me this a while ago, so I've always been looking forward to this game. I think it has good potential. Lies of P, ayo, that trailer was pretty hype. They released the demo. I'm not a demo guy. I like to just wait for the games to release. I'll look at reviews and stuff like that, and if they're positive, then I'll just give it a chance. And I feel like that's why I'm gonna go with Lies of P, because I'll probably upload it when it comes out, because that game does look pretty sick. I love the whole Pinocchio aesthetic that they're going with there, and the combat looks very Bloodborne-esque, even though I've never played Bloodborne. I just have that's just what the vibes it gives me. And we have killed the Capra Demon here, granting us a nice 6k souls. So we make our way into the sewers here, and we make our way over to the Gaping Dragon. This boss fight to me has always been super cool. The design of this dragon is sick. But the one thing I forgot about in this game until this boss fight is he shoots this I guess acid, and it breaks the durability of your sword. I totally forgot that there was durability. So during my first fight of this guy, he almost broke my sword, so I had to go all the way back to the blacksmith to repair him because I didn't have the repair kit or all this permanent unlocks you get from the blacksmith for your bonfire. So I had to go backtrack to the blacksmith, fix my sword, then make it back to the Gaping Dragon. And that took a while because I don't remember this map a whole lot. I don't remember this map very well, so I just gotta run around until I make it places. He's not an insanely hard boss. He just moves around a lot. He likes to jump, fling his tail around, and just kind of annoying, but design-wise, one of my favorite bosses. Now I was debating honestly doing a tier list during this video, putting every boss into a tier list, but this video is already taking super long as it is, so I might make that a separate video or something along the lines of that. Haven't figured it out yet. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. I guess it'll be for the real ones, if you're still here watching this video, I have a Discord now that has been requested by a couple of you, so it'll be the first link in the description. Feel free to join. We'll hang out. I'm also going to use this video as well as that Discord for my Q&A birthday video, so if you do have any questions for me, leave them in the comments below or in the Discord server, preferably the YouTube comments because that pushes the algorithm, but I'll use both. But yeah, be sure to join the Discord server below. Back to the Summer's Game Fest, they also showed more gameplay of Remnant 2. I really liked the first Remnant. I know it wasn't for everyone. Souls-likes with guns is really cool. I honestly really enjoyed it. Played through it with a couple of friends and had a lot of fun, so I'm hoping this game is just as good. Although the late game, they started like reusing a lot of the same assets, so it was like there wasn't a huge variety. That's my only like gripe with the game. Besides that, I had a lot of fun with Dark Souls with guns. Hopefully this one they have improved. The Xbox showcase also happened. We'll chat about that. Fable, Avowed, Starfield, Senua's Saga 2, Still Wake. Those are all games that I'm pretty excited about. I'm not gonna lie. Like they all look really good. Fable, I used to play when I was younger as well, so it'll be nice to try it again and see if it still hits. It might be bad now. They might have messed it up. Who knows? Avowed looks pretty interesting, if honestly. The Capcom showcase, kind of lame, not gonna lie. Exoprimal, I like dinosaurs, so I want to give it a try, but it doesn't look great, not gonna lie. It looks okay. But we have killed the gaping dragon, and now it is time to make our way over to Blighttown again, as now we have gained quite a few souls to level ourselves up. I feel a little bit more confident going for Quelaag. Before we make our way back down to Blighttown, we're actually gonna take on Havel because I do want his ring so I can be a tanky boy and wear his armor. So basically, for the most part, we're just going for backstabs, trying to utilize the brokenness of backstabs, and it works pretty well for me, granting us Havel's ring. Now it's time to take on the Chaos Witch Quelaag. I'm not gonna lie, she took me still quite a bit, even like with me being more leveled up, better armor, she still owned me. It's mainly that exploding attack that I had to really get used to, but once I like learned how to actually fight her, she was pretty easy. You just have to like stay really close to her and she can't hit you unless she's trying to explode. Then you just run away and repeat the process until you do kill her. So like that made me feel it made me feel bad about myself. I'm not gonna lie, because she was so easy after me struggling so hard. The Ubisoft showcase, I'm only looking forward to like X-Defiant mainly, but that's because I was a Call of Duty kid, so like just that feeling of nostalgia, I guess, that the game brings, because it's actually a arcade shooter, unlike what Call of Duty is now. They're just kind of trying to chase after Modern Warfare 2019's success, and that's kind of lame. I'm not the biggest fan of Call of Duty right now, so X-Defiant should be pretty good. All right, now I'm gonna tell you a little story. So I was 16 at the time, so a couple years ago, and I was going on a date with a girl. She was a family friend. I've known her for a while, and this was out of town because she lived like 2 hours away from me. So I head over to her town, meet her there. We meet at a mall, and by the way, my mom knew about this. She drove me over there, or I guess her boyfriend at the time drove me over there. They said they were gonna stick around in the city while I was on this date, and they'd be able to drive me home. So I was like, okay, that sounds cool. It went okay. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't go like crazy well because I was kind of nervous. Knew this girl forever and didn't really know how to like make that transition from like family friends that I've had to like crush on forever to like that extra step. So we went to the movie, we saw a movie, and basically this theater was pretty dead. It was just us, so we had fun in the movie theater. And then we were just chatting for a bit, and her mom shows up to the mall that we're at to do some shopping, and she's like, "Oh, hey Curtis, funny seeing you here." I'm like, just in town, haha. No, I wasn't just in town. And she got mad at her daughter for not telling her about this, so we both got in trouble, and then I ended up finding out that my mom took off to the town that like my hometown, so she was 2 hours away, and I had to travel home by myself. So the girl that I was going on a date with's mom drove me to a train station, and I took a train back home, and that was pretty awkward, not gonna lie. We rang the second bell here after killing Quelaag. This story isn't over, hold on. Finishing up the 4-hour long tutorial of Dark Souls 1. So I finally arrive to my hometown, and it drops me off. Like I go from train to bus, and bus takes me to the bus station, the terminal area, and it's like 12 o'clock. It's like midnight now, and there's no current buses running, so I couldn't like get home. So my phone is at like 3% at this point. I text my mom, I'm like, hey, I'm back in town, do you want to like come pick me up? She's like, oh, my boyfriend's out, I can't drive you, I'm actually at a party, blah blah blah, I can call you a cab. And I was like, okay, sounds great. She calls me in this cab, and it doesn't show up, or if it did show up, someone else snagged it. It's like late October, raining, midnight, I'm 16, all alone, and the cab didn't show up. I don't know how to get home. I don't know how to traverse my city at this point in my life, so I was sort of just wandering around, and I was just wandering around at night, and I didn't know where to go, so I was walking in the direction that I thought I was home, and then whenever I saw a street that didn't look familiar, I turned back around. I was like, nope, I'm going back to familiar bus station terminal area. So I'd walk back there. Eventually, I did find find a cab that was just driving by. I waved him down and he drove me home and everything worked out. But I was terrified in that moment, like being alone, not knowing what to do, like phone dead, couldn't contact anyone, had no clue where to go. And I was just wandering the downtown for, I want to say like an hour and a half before I finally got a cab to take me home. Horrible experience, but I learned my city after that. I learned how to traverse everywhere because I wasn't letting that happen again. Then now it was time for the iron golem at the top here, and we just sort of stick by his legs and smacking away at him. He wasn't super difficult. His attacks were pretty telegraphed. The only times like I died was when he would pick me up and just throw me off the edge, or just do a big sweeping attack and I would fall and die. He was so annoying with that stuff, and I was so bad at dodging that it was horrible. But eventually we do get him to teeter on the edge there and knock him down, killing the iron golem. And then after that, it was time to get snatched up by these gremlins and taken over to Orlando. Beautiful, beautiful city. Like, I just had to take a moment to admire it right there. And surprisingly, I made it up the 2 guys first try. I ran by the bowman and it was easy. This made me so mad because when I first played through the game, 30 minutes minimum, getting owned by these big bow losers taking me out. This time, I just ran at them with everything I had. Like, I knew to get naked because I couldn't make it if I wasn't naked. I just knew that I needed to move as fast as possible. I do make it through first try.
Hopefully it doesn't play high. Nice. He's dead. Sure.
We make a quick pit stop and pick up Havel's armor through a hidden wall here that's under this fireplace. We make it through there and pick up Havel's armor because we're going to try to equip it later. And then I realized at this point, I make it to this big blacksmith here and I didn't pick up the ember in the sewers that grants me to go to +10. So I couldn't level up my weapon until I went and grabbed it. So I had to go all the way back to the sewers to pick up this ember, which I do. And then we make it back to the blacksmith, make our way all the way back to Orlando, running through Sen's Fortress all over again because the game doesn't give you fast travel until later. How kind from Software. I really do appreciate it. After that, we get our Claymore +10 and ascend it to the Lightning Claymore. Let's go. I really do like the lightning damage to these games. I find it really fun to play around with and super effective. I don't find many things aren't weak to lightning. Now it's time for Ornstein's Mo. This fight, horrible. I tried to do it alone. I really did. I died over and over again. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. Solaire was my savior, okay? I didn't want to be stuck on this game any longer than I had to be. So I summoned Solaire because now I just said not many enemies aren't weak to lightning. Guess who isn't weak to lightning? These guys, aka Ornstein. He is not weak to lightning at all. He is the lightning guy. So I should have waited until after this fight to do the Ascension. Anyways, 2 more like entertaining stories before I bring this video more like serious. And that's just because I had a lot of thought during this playthrough. I had a lot to think about and reflection, and I realized something, but we'll get to that in a bit. First off, I used to work at a grocery store like I mentioned in the past video, but whenever we would mess up, so like let's say we had a skid full of like pizzas or whatever, like all these boxes, whenever we knock something over, we would all pose. Whenever we spilled like a yogurt or eggs or something, we'd get the whole grocery department, take a pose and take a picture of like 6 of us just standing around like broken apple juice, whatever, what sort of mess we made. If it was something that we did and it wasn't like a customer, we would all like pose and take a selfie by it, which I just found super comedic. So I thought I should let you know that that's what grocery store workers do. We used to find a lot of ways to have fun. Another story. Last year, we actually had like a little mouse problem, a little infestation, if you will, little bastards. Anyways, I was laying in my bed late at night and my bed frame is made out of like steel, sort of like metal material. All I hear is like ting, like something bang on it. I was like, what the? Okay, that's weird. And then I kind of got sketched out. So I pull out my phone, pull out my flash, and I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, I don't see anything. We're all good. And then I see in the corner of my eye, like something run by, and I was like, okay, interesting. Pull my flash again. I'm just sitting there staring because it like went towards my closet, and I was just like staring at my closet like, is there something in there? What's going on here? It runs out, looks at me, and then runs back in. So I'm like, oh god, there's a mouse there. And I'm not a big tough man. I'm scared of little gross mice. You know, these things have diseases and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't like little mice. I don't like bugs. I don't like small little things. They're freaky. Why are they that small? They're gross. Anyways, I run out of my room and I'm like, told my brother, I'm like, yo, we got like a mouse problem, no biggie, like don't worry about it, like it's all good, I'll take care of it. But just letting you know, like just in case you see anything, we should probably like might have a mouse problem. That's, you know. And then I go to enter my room again, and this little thing jumps off my bed. It was in my bed. I ran upstairs. I was like, nope, I'm not sleeping there. I'm sleeping on the couch with my dog because she will kill all of the mice, and I can feel safe here and not have to sleep in my now infested bed with gross mouse germs. So that's exactly what I did, and I avoided this small little mouse. And I like exaggerated it with my dad in the morning. He was like, was it big? I'm like, oh yeah, it was big. It was large, very large. In fact, like biggest mouse I've ever seen. So he buys mouse traps. They end up killing the mouse. And my dad's like, you mean this little thing? And he like tries to like taunt me with it. And I'm like, okay, thanks, Dad. I don't feel any better about myself, right? Don't, thanks though. So yeah, that's my mouse story. We then obtained the Lord Vessel here from, what's her name? Gwendolyn, I want to say. Sounds about right. Boobies. Gwendolyn. Anyways, now we have the Lord Vessel. We can take on the four lords. And we're going to start this off with Grave Lord Nito. And the reason why we are doing Nito first is because his area is horrible. Like that whole dark area with the whole Giant's Tomb is horrible. So we're getting that out of the way first so I don't have to deal with it. We make our way down to this skeleton blacksmith here. Not going to lie, first time I made it down here, I was terrified of this guy because it does a cut. Why does it do a cutscene for him, right? You made him seem like some scary boss and you just like friendly guy. After that, we make our way over to Pinwheel, and I was in a Discord call with my friend, and I had told him if I die to this boss here, I am ending the run now. I don't care that I'm 7 hours and I'm ending it and restarting. I'll pretend like it never happened and replay the whole thing. So we take out Pinwheel here. He is a pushover as per usual. As you can see, we're doing massive amounts of damage and he's not doing nearly enough for it to matter. So he teleports away from me here. I use that opportunity to heal, and then I just run at him doing my spinning slash and kill Pinwheel, giving us the Rite of Kindling, allowing us to get up to 20 Estus Flasks. I'm not gonna lie, I did abuse this. At the beginning of the run, I told myself I wasn't gonna use shield and I wasn't going to use the Rite of Kindling. I broke the Rite of Kindling rule, and I still didn't use shields though because I heavily relied on them in the first game, or my first playthrough. I parry spammed the final boss and I used it way too much. Like I would hold my shield out any opportunity I could. To be fair, this game was built around the shield mechanic, and that's what made the game like fair, and I decided to not use the shields in any of the games, which I do regret, but whatever. I was trying to make it a little bit more spicier. After that, we make our way over to Patches and kill him because he's trying to trick me. He did it in my first playthrough. I fell for it. Why would I trust this bald bastard? So we kill him so he can't trick me no more. And we make our way over to Nito after struggling so many times in this damn dark pit of doom. And for the next couple of bosses here, I'm going to take a more serious tone. I'm not going to announce like what I'm doing in the game. I'm just going to be talking to you guys, and it'll be go from boss fight to boss fight to boss fight to boss fight until we're at the final boss here. But so this game series, playing through these games, really made me realize that recently, I don't know how to start this, but last month my dog of like 14 years passed away. She got really sick. I don't really know what happened to her. She had never been to a vet before. Like she was kind of like not like a registered dog. Anyways, we had got her off of like a neighbor who was gonna get rid of her. So we're like, okay, we'll take her, and she became my best friend in a sense where I would always feel protective of her. I guess I'm gonna drop a couple of bombs here. One, my mom, the one that I was talking about in the other story that abandoned me, like I mentioned, she had a boyfriend. My parents are split up. They have been for a long time now. It happened when I was very young, so I've always didn't really have a prominent female figure in my life because I lived with my dad through my whole life. So this dog sort of took that place for me. She was always there for me, and I very much loved her. She got very sick and she died at our house. I had to witness it. It was horrible. I will admit I didn't see much of it because I couldn't bring myself to be there for her, and it kills me. Like it's one of my biggest regrets was not being there for her when she most needed it, but I couldn't see her like that. It broke. And what I'm trying to get to with this is these games remind me a lot of grief and what it does. I could relate a lot to this game now, and it made me feel a lot more in touch with this game series after going through this. Like before, I had seen people make these video essays about how Dark Souls have saved my life, how the Souls series has done this, that, and the third, and I could never relate to that because I'd never been through any sort of trauma like this, losing someone, and how grief starts denial, refusing to believe that she was gone. And I couldn't believe believe, even before she died, I couldn't believe that that's what was happening, because nobody had told me until it was like happening. Apparently she was like that all morning. Like she fell the day prior. I was like, oh, she was getting older. I think she was like 13, 14 years old. So I was like, okay, that's, she just slipped because like floors are slippery. That's what in my brain part it to, but no, it's because she was getting older, and it was because she was getting sick. I was refused to believe that that's what was happening. I was like, okay, she was just like not feeling well, she'll get better. And I was in denial throughout the whole time it was happening. Even when I came home and saw her just like laying on the ground panting, obviously she wasn't well, and I was in denial, refusing to believe that she was going to die. And then when she did die, I refused to believe that she was gone, because she meant a lot to me. And that really resonates with these games. Me personally, I was in denial that I sucked at Dark Souls 1, and I didn't want to give up on these games, even though like it made me so like frustrated playing through all these games, because I suck at them. Like Dark Souls 1 and 2, I'm horrible at. I wanted to give up many times because it was just hard, and I didn't want to struggle when I could just cop out and go back to the game I'm good at, Elden Ring, and just make a video like that. But I didn't want to do that. And one of the next steps of grief is anger. And with my dog, it was out of my control. There was nothing I could do about it, because even if she was brought to the vet, there's a very good chance that she was still going to die. But she would be terrified because she had never been there before, and that would have scared her. Because when we moved houses, because we moved 2 years ago, when we brought her to the new house, she was shaking for 24 hours because she was so scared of this like new environment, because she had never been anywhere else besides like our house and our neighborhood, like when we took her for walks, or we take her to like trails sometimes. But besides that, she was very much used to her territory and being put into this new house. Like I stayed up with her the first like night she was here, and she was so like, she was just laying in my bed just shaking, and I couldn't get her to stop shaking. And just imagining what that would do to her at a vet somewhere she hasn't been, this like this cold room where there's lights everywhere, and she'd be put on this like metal bed, and that scared me. So I didn't want to put her through that, especially if she was going to die anyways. And obviously I couldn't know if it would have saved her or not, but that's just something I have to live with. And anger at this game, obviously through these games, obviously it is goes back to me not being good at them and wanting to give up on these bosses and getting angry that I just couldn't grasp it. Like the Dark Souls 1 dodge mechanic, I just don't understand. It's either the iframes it gives you is so little, and everything feels so like clunky and delayed. It irritated me so much. And I know it's because it's an older game, so it's gonna have its flaws obviously, and I can look past them. Doesn't mean it doesn't make me angry and like frustrated with trying to deal with this game and the series as a whole. Like it's hard. I don't know, like straight up, they are hard games, and sometimes the anger gets the best of us, and we get angry. And just like Moog 2 and Elden Ring, like one of the most infuriating bosses to me, because he just spits stuff everywhere and just so annoying to deal with. Bargaining, and that's like what I was thinking about a lot while I was in the grieving process. Like they're the what ifs. Like what if I did bring her to the vet, and what if I stayed up with her, and there was like regrets of not being able to, because I wasn't emotionally ready to go through that. Like I saw her in that state and I couldn't stop crying, and I couldn't bear to see her like that, so I didn't spend as much time with her as I should have. Obviously like my other family members were there to comfort her. She's not like she was alone or anything, but I still like, what if I could have spent more time with her during those last moments? To relate to this series, what if I did something different in a boss fight when I lose, or what if I went about it a different way? There's so many what ifs that you could think about, and it's so easy to dwell in the past, and especially when you're grieving, and say all these what ifs. Like you have to try to get out of that mindset, because you'll fall into a depression without even realizing it. And that's onto my next point, depression. Like I got very, very sad, and I didn't want to leave bed for a couple of days. I called in for work all week that week. I didn't go to work a single day because it affected me so much. Like this dog meant so much to me. It's like the little things that you miss. Like this sounds a little silly. Try not to get emotional here. But one of the days after she passed, like whenever I went upstairs, because I'm more of a night person, so I would go upstairs to the kitchen at night and make food and whatnot, and she was always like clung to my side because she knew that I would feed her some of this food what I was making, or she would just want affection, whatever it was. She was always, as soon as I was upstairs, she was at my side. And when I like went up there after she was gone, it was totally different environment. Like there was no paws stepping around, there was just a presence missing, which I felt the most when I was grating cheese, because dogs, the cheese tax, you need to pay this cheese tax whenever you are dealing with cheese, and she was no different. She was always there wanting cheese, and I was grating cheese, and I looked down, and obviously she wasn't there, which broke me. And at that moment, I couldn't stop crying because of what the little things that I would be missing. And that hurt a lot, realizing stuff like that I wouldn't be able to experience. And I am nowhere like quote unquote over it. Like I said, it has only been a month, but I'm trying my best, and this is helping me get over it, talking about it. I haven't talked about it with like anyone really, like one of my closest friends, a conversation about it, because I knew he could relate, because I haven't really talked to anyone about it, because like the only person I've talked to about it was my best friend, and that's because his cat has passed recently, so I knew he like went through this already, so I like went to him for like guidance and like really could talk to him about it. But besides that, I haven't talked about it and how it affected me, because there was never a need to. It was never brought up. It was just everyone in my family was grieving, and we didn't want to like bring each other down by speaking about it or bringing it up, so we didn't. But it is very easy to fall into the depression, and like I mentioned, I am not completely over it. It's only been just over a month now, and I tried to like continue on like things are normal, because you have to try to move on and not dwell on it too much, because it'll only bring you down. And that brings me to my last point: acceptance. You have to accept that thematically in these games, it's very much about depression and fighting your way out. You start because it is a hard battle. At least that's how I interpret these games, because they are so difficult, and that is one of the bigger things to fight out of and try to get away from is depression. So I relate a lot to these games in that sense. And the last part of grief, I guess people can look at it as 5 or 7 stages of grief. I'm just going to cover the 5 steps or stages, and the last one being acceptance, accepting in my case that my dog was gone and she wouldn't be there for me anymore, which sucks a lot, but it's something you have to do. And you have to accept that life does and as horrible as that is, it's something that we have to deal with. Now, I didn't really find like a good way to tie acceptance into the Souls-like series. I just couldn't think of anything besides like the community and wanting to be accepted that way, because this community can be so hardcore with the get good mentality that it scares a lot of people away from it and trying to gain that acceptance by playing a certain way, and it forces people to like step out of their comfort zone. But besides that, like I couldn't relate it directly to the games, because I can never accept losing. I can never accept that the game is over, that the cycle is over, and it will continue. And because I am stubborn, that is why that's why I couldn't bring acceptance into this discussion. And I don't know like how much time that talking will take up, but I'm going to just bring us to the final boss fight. Figured out in editing like how I'll distribute it. But Gwyn, Word of Cinder. This fight is so cool. First time I did it, I absolutely abused parrying because it was so difficult to try to learn. This time I used a ring to like it helped fire protection, and I used the pillars to my advantage to try to heal. And if you hit him enough, you can get like a stun lock. I think on every like third hit it is, or second or third hit, he gets like stunned for a second. So I tried to utilize that as fast as possible, and I constantly try to stay on Gwyn because he was so hard to deal with. If you just let him get into his combos, he'll absolutely ruin you. So I'd use the pillars to try to, like I said, I use the pillars to my advantage and trying to stun lock him as much as possible. He has a lot of health. I didn't realize this, but it took a while to actually kill Gwyn, because I only did like 66 damage, which isn't a lot in his total health pool. I don't know how much health he actually has, but it felt like it took a long time to deal any sort of damage to him. But eventually we do kill Gwyn, and I decide to light the flame and start the cycle all over again. And that is Dark Souls 1. Give me a final time of 11 hours and 34 minutes and 4 seconds, which honestly is pretty bad. But originally I think it took like 20 hours or just over 20 hours to beat Dark Souls 1. So I'm very happy with only playing this game once to do that. Now it was on to the next game, my least favorite in the series. I know it gets a lot of hate and like it shouldn't, but I just don't like it. Dark Souls 2. I can respect that it does things different and it tries to change the formula from Dark Souls 1 and 3. Anyways, we start the game. We have to go run over to the character creator. We are going to be choosing the Knight class, and we're going to be choosing the Petrified Something as a gift. You can give it to like the little birdies and it has a chance to give you something good. We run through the tutorial, we drop our Petrified Something for the little birdies, and they give me a whip. That's not really what I wanted. Can't use it, but thanks anyways. Now we are on our long quest to get the Claymore. What I need to find is a branch of yore, which will remove a statue before I can even get the Claymore. So it's time to go find one of those. So we head over to the Forest of the Fallen Giants. We make our way through. through. This merchant here sells us the branch, but it costs 12,000 souls. So I'm gonna need to go kill a boss to get some quick souls. We make our way over to the last giant. This guy, he's kind of weak. Like, his attacks are very readable. Obviously, he's like the first boss that you're gonna encounter. Didn't make him super difficult, but he's just way too easy. He just sort of like jumps around, and he's very big and slow. So even though I do only have like a smaller sword, I can just stab away at his feet, just stick to them until he eventually does rip his arm off, try to hit us with it. Kind of weird. We just stick by his feet and end up taking out the last giant with no real problems. And that gives us 10,000 souls, which will help us purchase the branch that we need. So we purchase the fragrant branch of yore from the merchant. Now that we have that, we travel back to Medulla and make our way into this room and free this statue, because when we do this to get access to the Claymore, so we open this up, but now we are on a little bit of a timer here, and there's a bunch of like poison guys trying to kill us, so we just gotta avoid them, just run in circles, kite them, because eventually the door will open. So I do that, and then we run into the shaded woods. One thing I will give Dark Souls 2 props to, as you can see here, I do this backstab. Their backstab animations are pretty sick. They're like multi-hit attacks, a lot cooler than just like the one impaling, so I do appreciate that about this game. That's probably one of the few things that I do like. But we make our way through the shaded wood, we run up to this merchant over here. Now we have to buy the Claymore, which costs 4,300 and needs 13 dex and 20 strength, which I don't have. But now because I have the sword, I can't use any other swords due to the rules. That's gonna be a little bit of a problem, but I'm sure we can figure it out. We make our way over to Hyde's Tower of Flame, and as you can see here, my Claymore is doing no damage because I do not have the required stats. We make our way over to the Dragon Rider boss, who we can actually cheese. We just wait for him to step 7 times, we run by him, and he will swing himself off, killing him, making it a nice and easy boss fight, granting us a nice 12,000 souls. We then pop all of our souls that we have on us at the time, including the Dragon Rider soul that we just obtained. Then we level up, and this gives us the proper stats that we needed to equip the Claymore. I think this is the highest requirements throughout all the games to get this weapon, which is kind of a pain. But now that that's out of the way, we can actually start the run. Then we make our way over to No Man's Wharf. In the water, the big alien-looking freaks that are scared of light, and just the absolutely tremendous amount of enemies in this area. I wasn't the biggest fan of this area. And then I realized after I completed this area that I didn't even need to be here. Like, there was another way to the place where I was going. So whatever. I'm not mad. Okay, maybe a little bit, but that's beside the point. Before we take on the boss of this area, we're actually gonna head back and upgrade our Claymore. Now it's time to take on the Fluxile Sentry. This guy actually like ruined me. Like, his sword side is so annoying to deal with. He's just such a fast attacking boss, and without the iframes that I'm used to, it just was very unfortunate. One thing I also very much dislike about this game is the life gems that you have to rely on for healing, because the Estus flask in this game, it sucks. Like, the healing it does is good, I'll give it that, but like when you're drinking the potion, you have to stand still and just sit there. You can't like walk. Like, when you pop a life gem, you can still have some movement. There's still a chance of getting away. The Estus flask locks you in place for what it feels like 5 seconds, and I know it's not that long, but it feels that long, and it sucks. With the life gems do like a regenerative property, it doesn't like instantly heal you, but you can pop it while moving, and then you can just run around and like kite out the enemy while you heal up. So they're just superior, and the fact that you can buy infinite amounts of these gems, Estus flask look like a joke in this game. But regardless, we take out the Fluxile Sentry. After that, we backtrack to the Forest of the Giants to take on the Pursuer. Now this guy, I actually enjoy fighting the Pursuer. He's actually a pretty fun fight. I never thought I would say that, but the way he moves and like the way he telegraphs his attack makes it a very enjoyable like duel experience. It's like you take turns. It feels like a dance, where some of these boss fights, I don't get that feeling. This one felt like a solid boss fight. His turn, my turn. His turn, my turn. It felt like a very like fluid fight, and I enjoyed it. Now why we're going back here is because one, I was dumb. I didn't know where to go when I went to the other place, and two, I wanted some more souls, as having to dump all my levels into my Claymore really hurt my like stamina and HP. Now we dance around the Pursuer until we eventually take him out, giving us some nice souls to work with. And remember that Crow Express from Dark Souls 1? It's back. And then we land in the Lost Bastille. This one gives me the Dull Ember, which will be nice for upgrading, and two, it gives me a bonfire that's a lot closer to this next boss fight. One thing that I didn't like about this game as well, that they did do it in Dark Souls 3 as well, which not the biggest fan of, is that you had to go back to Medulla to level up. Couldn't just go to a bonfire and level up like you could in the first Dark Souls, and I'm so glad that they brought that back in Elden Ring. I was like, sure, it's not like a big deal to have to fast travel every time you want to level up. It just feels so unnecessary to do, especially having that luxury in the first game. Yeah, we use another branch of yore to make the statue guy into an enemy. We take him out and head into the cellar. And now it's time for my least favorite fight in the game, the 3 sentinels. I don't like this fight. The fact that you have to fight three guys, I don't like taking 3 guys. Pause. I don't like having to deal with all of it, like managing all of them at once. It's horrible. I mean, it does help that give you a fair 1v1 at the start where you can take out the first one, making it a 2v1, which makes it a little bit better, but and the fact that they aren't super tanky helps. But besides that, I just don't like the aspect of a trio fight. Never really liked. I don't like getting ganged up on. But yeah, for this fight, we just take on the first Ruin Sentinel up here. We just give him the 1v1. We start smacking away at him and keep him on this platform, because if we drop down, it is a death trap down there. We stay up here until we eventually kill him, and then we wait for the second one to jump up at us. They'll have different starting points in the arena, so the second one has a chance to get to us before the third one does. As long as we bait him up to this platform, we have another little bit of a 1v1 here for a little bit, which will allow us to do some nice damage while we can. Gets him to nearly half HP, which helps a lot. Then we are forced to drop down and have to fight both of them at once, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm just trying to bait out the one that I have already damaged. Whenever he goes for like a slam down, I'll try to attack that one, and until we do eventually kill her, granting us a 1v1, which makes this fight a lot easier. Very happy that these guys are like slow and not very like annoying, I guess you could say, because like, I think the most annoying aspect is their like spinning attack, but besides that, it's kind of a chill fight. Once we have the 1v1, it is a lot easier. I can just run in circles until we eventually kill the 3 sentinels, and then I didn't even get to like utilize the souls from them because I ended up dying twice, losing all my souls, which was mad unfortunate, but whatever. I know I'm bad. Now it's time to make our way over to the Lost Sinner. But what I'm gonna do actually is light my torch at the bonfire and use this torch to light up his arena, because it's dark in there and I can't lock on when he gets a certain distance away, and it's just, I don't like not being able to see. So we light up the arena, which makes it a lot easier to deal with, although it doesn't fix his really terrible hitboxes, but that's besides the point. But yeah, I know I've talked a lot about scheduling, and I think I finally figured out, like, I don't want to promise anything, so I think I figured out a scheduling that works for me, because I do want to experiment more on the channel like I've been mentioning recently. But I think it's going to be like Elden Ring, other video Elden Ring like I had mentioned previously, but I'm not going to do the whole promise of a weekly basis, because I want to work on some bigger projects. Like this video here that you're seeing now, it took me a while to do, so I want to start working on stuff like that alongside the regular Elden Ring challenge runs that I've been doing. So I think that's where I'm going to be heading with the channel coming up. And I'm also going to be switching the content from like pure voiceovers to mix of voiceover, like for the intro and like explaining some of the stuff. For the most part, the video is going to be my in-game reactions to these fights and live commentating for the most part, and I feel like that's a better direction for the channel overall, and you guys have been requesting it, so I have a feeling you'll enjoy it. But yeah, we take out the Lost Sinner here, and that is the first primal bonfire lit, 1 of 4, a sort of repeat of Dark Souls 1 in this aspect, and they do the same thing in Dark Souls 3. We jump down the big pit in Majula to make our way over to the rat boss fight. This is one of the boss fights that I just wasn't a fan of in this game. Like, I'm glad that they were experimenting with stuff like this, but the just calling a, and I know this in this case there is the certain rat that spawns, which is the boss, but just killing a group of rats for a boss fight, kind of lame in my opinion, and I think it's sort of lazy. That's why there's just like all these small decisions in this game that add up that I'm not the biggest fan of. Like, I know I can respect what they did with it. The experimentation is nice, the way they went about, and the whole lighting premise, that was pretty cool. I did like that if they went more in depth with that, that'd be pretty cool, but I think they like scrapped it or ran out of time in development. I don't know the full story on why they stopped doing that, but we take out these rats here nice and easy because, you know, they're just rats. I don't know. They're free. Then we make our way down to the gutter and start heading towards our next primal bonfire. And the gutter was super annoying because I didn't realize that there was a bonfire like right beside the boss. So I just kept running through this giant run back and dying over and over and over again. I would like poison on the way. I would break my armor diving through the acid stuff that like breaks your equipment and durability. Now it is time to take on the Rotten. Conceptually, this boss is really cool. I'm a big fan of it. I like the design and its like moveset. It's pretty cool. It all meshes very well, and I'm a big fan of this boss fight. Probably my favorite of the 4 primal fights. The Lost Sinner is kind of lame. The big demon that's in the lava, I don't like him either. The Rotten is pretty cool though. I think the other one's like the acid lady, Medusa sort of looking thing. I didn't like her. She was weird, and her poison arena I don't like the poison swamps, so I don't like the poison arena boss fight. Yeah, this game, once I leveled up my ADP, I got like the grasp of dodging. Dark Souls 1, I still never like know when to dodge and like make it effective. This game, I'm sort of was getting the hang of it, and then Dark Souls 3 plays like very similar to Elden Ring, so obviously I was going to be better at that. But yeah, I relied on life gems for this boss fight, and whenever I would get low, I would just run away because it is a bigger arena, and I would just pop a life gem, stay back, and then go in for a couple hits until I like messed up again. I hit life gem, run away, repeat the process until we eventually kill the Rotten. I'm not trying to dwell too much on these boss fights because there's 4 games, and I think I'm already like 2 hours into recording my voiceover. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but this isn't good. This is going to be very long. I don't want it to be super long because then people, they wouldn't want to watch all of it, or it would be intimidating to click on a video that's like 3 hours long. So my goal is like 2 hours for this whole video. But after we take take out the rotten, we make our way through the shaded wood. I'm not gonna lie, because I was so unfamiliar with this game, I don't even know what rings I have equipped or when I found them. I was gonna try to like touch on that, like what I picked up, but I don't remember, if I'm honest. I know I have a damage up ring that like does more physical damage. I have one that drops more souls. Where I found them, I don't know. I was just sort of going along and finding them as I did. But now it is time to fight the big scorpion girl boss thing. And another gripe I do have with this game is the fact that when you die, you permanently lose part of your HP until you use a humanity, gain your HP back. I know, I think it caps at like half your HP bar, but that's still not a mechanic I like. This fight wasn't terribly hard. You just sort of stick by her tail, and as long as you're like midsection of her, whenever she does her sweeping attack, she doesn't damage you, she just drags you along with her. So it becomes very easy to deal with because she can't hit you from when you're at that side of her. So as long as you can position yourself right, it's sort of free. You sort of sit here, wail away at her, she'll try to do her tail attack and just drag you along, and as long as she doesn't like shoot magic at you, she can't do anything to you. She was very easy. Now with her out of the way, we move onwards. Oh, and now I remember, it's not the Medusa lady who's one of the primal bonfire bosses. It's the big spider. That's one of them. I wasn't a big fan of that boss fight either. I don't like spiders. They creep me out. Yeah, we head through the Blightstone Cove. We make it over to the Prowling Magus and Congregation boss fight. Now this boss fight, lame. I don't like that it's just beating on this like group of churchgoers. just gotta bully a bunch of churchgoers, and that's the whole boss fight. The HP bars is just killing all the guys. Kind of lazy, in my opinion, and I'm not the biggest fan of this sort of boss fight, but it is what it is. We take them out nice and easy. And one thing I learned way too late at this spider area is if you use a torch, you repel the spiders. They get scared of the fire and they run away from you. It would have been nice to know early on, but I died in that church area so many times running through those group of spiders. It was horrible. It makes this part of the game so much easier. The spiders just like part like the Red Seas, and you just walk through them, no problem. And then it also makes the boss fight really easy because you don't have to deal with all of the baby spiders attacking you while you take on the big spider. You just hold out a torch, they run away, and you just beat them up. I just hold the torch out so the other spiders wouldn't aggro me. I'd use the charcoal resin, I think it is in this game, to give fire damage, and I would just slap away at the Duke Deer's Friege's head, because for the most part, as long as she's not like spitting out of it, you can just stand there and hit at her, and she'll try to like hit you with her feet, but because you're smacking her head and you're very close to her, she just misses you a lot. So it makes this fight to be really easy. Now she turns around, I just do the same thing to the other half until we eventually take out this abomination of a spider, lighting the next primal bonfire. That's 2 out of 4, baby. Let's go. Deep within the Huntsman Copse, we find these skeleton lords. This boss fight, even though it is just a boss fight that I just talked about, thematically I like it more like the skeleton aesthetic. Cool, the 4 lords turning into all the skeletons makes it a little bit nicer than just killing a room full of enemies. At the end of the day, that's what it is just killing a room full of enemies. And the fact that they do this multiple times throughout the game, I'm sorry if there's any Dark Souls 2 fans. I promise I didn't have a horrible experience playing this game. It's just there's a lot of gripes I have with this game comparatively to the rest of the series. Like, I think it's a fine game, but I feel like it doesn't mesh well with the other Souls games. After clearing out the skeleton, we lower the bridge and move onward, and actually get invaded by another human player and get absolutely owned. I think that happened in all of the games except for Elden Ring, because Elden Ring, I don't think it can happen. I don't think you can just get randomly invaded. I got invaded quite a few times throughout these 3 games, and I didn't like any of them. Before we move on, we actually put the lightning effect on our Claymore. I wanted to stick with the same sort of lightning Claymore that we use in Dark Souls 1. Now, realistically, I wanted to do bleed, but when I researching it, apparently bleed's just horrible in this game from what I read, so I didn't bother, and I put lightning on my Claymore. Then we make our way over to the Covetous Demon. This thing is the pinwheel of Dark Souls 2. It's just a pushover. This thing, all it can do is flop around, which is just kind of sad to watch it kill it. I felt bad killing this boss, and the design wise, pretty cool guy, big goopy guy, but boss fight wise, he's sad, and I felt bad. We killed the Covetous Demon quite quickly, moving onwards towards the next boss. And at this point, moving forward, you will notice that the timer in the top right, you'll see Dark Souls 1 is now blank. That's because my computer crashed. It didn't save the Dark Souls 1 being there, so I just set it to the time that I was already at, and in editing, I will put the time there so it is permanently there. But yeah, that is why it's not the same font. Yeah, I just looked at my recording, matched the times up, and kept going. Now it's time to take on Mytha the Baneful Queen. She is like a snake lady holding her head. This fight is weird. She is in a poison area, can grab you with her grippy tail. She'll try to she's Medusa in a way. She throws her head at you. It's just a weird fight overall. It looks cool, and I like what they did with it. What is this abomination? Yeah, we just play super aggressive and take out her quite quickly, granting us her soul. And throughout these soul runs, I don't think I can gain much besides boss weapons, so I just consume all of the boss souls for regular souls through all 4 of these games. And now it's time for the Old Iron King. I had a lot easier time this playthrough dealing with him. In my first playthrough of Dark Souls 2, I was magic only because I'd never used magic in any of the Souls games. game, so I decided that that would be the game that I use magic in. And he kept hitting me into the lava, and I learned from that playthrough to stick to this left side here, because you're more or less safe from everything. At least when I did it, I didn't have any problems with it. Like, sure, the fire breath can be scary, but you just have to like stay on the side of it and you should be fine. And I know we're rushing through bosses here throughout Dark Souls 2, and that's just mainly because I don't have much else to say about this game. Like, I've shown my gripes with it. I don't really, and I just wanted to get this game over with, and I feel like that way in post commentary as well. It's just like something I want to get over with and move on to Dark Souls 3 already. I'm sick of seeing this game. Also, I will have timestamps description as well to each game, so if you don't want to see a certain game, if you want to skip a certain game, that will be there as well. I totally forgot to mention that earlier. Old Iron King, nothing special here really, kind of a basic boss. He almost hit me in the lava there, which was would have been unfortunate. Yeah, wait for him to slam down his hands and we smack him, or when he was a fire breath attack, we take the damage and we just hit him in his face. I repeat this until we eventually take out the Old Iron King. I believe that is the last Primal Bonfire boss. Yes, the last one, because this goofy goober appears. And now it's time to make that final push to the end game. But yeah, we head into the Drangleic Castle, buy all of the Radiant Life Gems from this invisible lad here, and make our way further into the castle. I really like this part of the game, not because it's like the last part, I promise, but the Drangleic Castle was a lot of fun, feeding the souls to the stone statues to bring them to life. I thought that concept was pretty cool. Not all hate over here to Dark Souls 2, just mostly hate. One of my favorite places in Dark Souls 2. Speaking of bosses, we come up on our first one, the Dragon Rider fight, where they just double down on Dragon Riders. I think one of them has a bow and one of them is just straight melee build. What we do is we just stick to the melee guy, and we do quite a bit of damage, so we're not super worried. Get into around halfway, and that's when the other guy drops down, and now he tries to come into melee us, targeting the red boy here because we've already done so much damage to him, so we want to just finish him off. But yeah, the Claymore in this game, like I mentioned earlier, it's pretty much the same from Dark Souls 1. There's not much difference with the Claymore besides like the requirements to equip the Claymore. Still has the running, spinning slash with backstab animations, a lot cooler. But beside that, it's still just a good greatsword, and as you can see, it's doing good damage here with the lightning added onto it. It's just a strong weapon as we're melting through these Dragon Riders here, and we give him one final slash and take out the second Dragon Rider, finishing up the boss fight. That was onto the other boss fight of this castle, which is the Looking Glass Knight. This guy, conceptually, he's pretty cool, but he is pretty weak. Like, he just takes a lot of damage. Maybe it's because but he has just a lot of very predictable attacks that just leave him open for way too many hits. I feel like he just doesn't hit fast enough, and then when he summons his little friend through his mirror shield, he's just vulnerable for way too long, in my opinion. Like, I'm not one to complain that things are easy, but this guy, he seems like he should be more badass than he is. The only way to do really is stick his backside and just keep running around him, and he is just way too vulnerable to that side. Like, even with his shield, he doesn't utilize it as a shield most of the time, and his little summons are just like, I 3-shot them, so they're just very weak and just not worth the amount of downtime he has to summon them. When he grabs the lightning out of the air as well, he's super vulnerable. I just felt like this boss fight was way too easy. I'm just gonna let these next couple of fights play in the background while I tell you some more embarrassing stories, unfortunately, because I was just sort of thinking, because I was like, you know what, honestly, I regret not recording my voice over during this, because talking over all these boss fights is pretty exhausting for me. I don't like commentating over all of them back to back to back. It takes a lot, so I'd rather talk about other things while they go on. So I'm gonna be doing that for these next couple of boss fights that are happening here. The Looking Glass Knight, though, like I said, very easy. But yeah, on to some embarrassing stories. But I'm gonna tell you some more, like, I guess, cooking mishaps. Things that I did as a teenager that were just dumb. I don't like exposing myself like this, but here we go. So first off, first story, what should I start? Like, I was making pizza. It was like one of those frozen Delicio pizzas. I think Delicio is in America. I want to say so. If not, just a frozen pizza, you know. And I went to put it in the oven, and comes on a little like cardboard circle thing. I didn't remove the cardboard circle thing, and ended up like catching fire. That wasn't good, but that's not the worst of it, okay? There was another time, another frozen pizza. I was just really bad at making these frozen pizzas, and I know all you do is put them in the oven, so like that says a lot about me as a person. But I put this pizza in the oven, and there is bake and broil, I believe, are the two settings on my oven. I clicked broil. I don't know what broil is used for. I've never had to use it for anything. But when I took out my pizza, it was soggy. It came out soggy. How does a pizza come out soggy? That's what I want to know. I don't know what I did wrong, but this thing was mush and horrible. Obviously, nobody ate it. I had to throw it out. I got yelled at. That's okay. It happens, you know? Another mishap is, I'm prefacing this, but like, I was never taught this in school. I know this is like a general thing that you're supposed to be taught. My dad claims he taught me, but I don't have any recollection of that. So I'm going to say it didn't happen, because I feel like I have a pretty good memory. I feel feel like I would remember, but no one was home at the time, and I was hungry, and I went to heat up some leftover spaghetti. I put the whole metal pot in the microwave to heat it up, and was very confused when the microwave was sparking and there was smoke coming out of it. But yeah, anyways, like I was saying, I put the metal pot in the microwave and it almost exploded my microwave. I don't know like the reaction that goes on there, but it was sparking, and that's not good. That's not supposed to happen. That's very not good. I could have blown up my microwave. Luckily I didn't, but that was a traumatizing experience. Basically, this one's not my fault, but when I was a little baby boy, I was like 3 or 4, I put my hands on the glass of the oven and burnt them pretty badly. I blame that one on my mother. She wasn't watching me when it happened, but it happened. You know, nothing I can do about it. But my hands, like, I grew up with like pink hands for like ever. I think a couple years ago they like turned to like normal skin color, but like growing up my hands were always like the palms of my hands and fingers were always like pinkish. They weren't like skin color, if that makes any sense, and I just had to deal with that, and that's okay. But yeah, the 3 parts of the dream, we need to go talk to this big dragon here, and he will give us an item, and then we go back to the forest of the giants at the beginning. We then fight a boss in there, and then we can access the final area of the game. And there was a ring I found in the wyvern area. Yeah, I found the 3rd dragon ring, and that is something that I use throughout the rest of the playthrough, and what it does is it increases HP by 7.5%, stamina by 12.5%, and maximum equivalent by 12.5%. So it is like Erdtree's favor, or the ring of favor in the first game, all over again. So this is a consistent thing that they have through all the games, which I can respect. I like the familiarity throughout these games. But yeah, the giant lord wasn't hard at all in the dream. He was just as easy as he was in the first boss. I don't know why they thought reusing him here would make it any significantly harder. It was just sticking by his feet and swinging. It was a pushover. Like, these last bosses should be hard, and they're just not. And now it's time for the final boss. If you die to this boss, you gotta run this every single time. It's not even like you're dodging anything or like, it's not challenging. It's just boring. You just gotta run straight. Hopefully I can first try this. And at least the final boss has 2 phases, and they can Fortnite res on the first phase, so that at least spices it up a little bit, but it's not super hard. And just because it's Dark Souls 2 doesn't mean you have to have 2 of every guy. I realize like there's a lot of double or triple fights. I know the other games also have those sort of fights, but I'm hating on Dark Souls 2 just because it's Dark Souls 2. Yeah, this isn't a horrible fight, and one that they have sort of like revisited in Dark Souls 3 with the 2 people and the Fortnite res. And conceptually, I don't like the fight in either of the games. I think thematically it's better in Dark Souls 3. Like the characters that you're fighting, they have like a story to them. These throne defenders and watchers, they're just defending the throne, which I guess sure, but I don't know. I like the princes a lot more, and their sort of story, where these guys are just some knights. Nothing really special about them, but that's okay. Yeah, we kill the defender there. He gets knocked down, and then we have to take on the watcher. The watcher's a little bit more annoying. He fast, attacks a lot, and does his little backflip to get away. He's just annoying to deal with, and I just have to try to like gatekeep his friend, because he will go for the Fortnite res like right now, but I use it to my advantage and take him out. Isn't there like another boss? Yes, Curtis. Yes, there is. I like her. She reminds me of Nido, like thematically. I don't like the curse thing that she spawned. Those are annoying because they just take away your HP if the bar goes up, which is never fun. I don't like getting my HP drained like that. As long as we stay out of the vision of them, it's not a horrible fight. She does have a laser attack, which can be very deadly. As long as we just stick close to her, she doesn't have an easy time with hitting us. Like if we stand like right into her, just like running into her, I think she only has like 1 or 2 attacks that can actually hit us in that position. So I just keep sprinting into her and smacking away, making her a pushover for our final boss. Like Gwyn and the Lord of Cinder and Radagon, those are all like good final boss fights. This, not so much. I think there's also another boss you can fight in this arena, and that's that big like monster dragon thing that keeps like popping out of the bonfires. I don't know, I've never fought him, but I think there's an achievement for fighting him, if I remember correctly. So I'd assume this is where you do it, but every time I play this game, I never want to stay any longer than I have to. I've never done the DLCs, which I've heard are the best content of the game, and I have never fought that boss. A lot of the optional bosses, I don't think I fought, but we take her out, no problem. And we decide to rekindle the flames, starting the cycle all over again for a second time. I guess this time it's like not rekindling, but taking the throne. And now we are 22 hours in after beating the first 2 games. As you can see, this took me a while. And now we're on to my favorite of the 3, Dark Souls 3. We choose the life ring, and we go the warrior class, as I believe this has the same Claymore Claymore stats as Dark Souls 1, so it'll be 16 strength, 13 dexterity, and this class starts us with 16 strength. Yeah, then we pulled the sword out of Mr. Gundyr here, and we start taking him on, and this fight also very easy. Yeah, he transforms into his monster form, we just sort of stick at him, play super aggressive, and it works out, bringing us the coiled sword, which we will need. And we end up to the Firelink Shrine, where we actually have to use the coiled sword that we just obtained to light the bonfire. And I level up my dexterity, so we'll be able to equip the Claymore once we get it, which will be soon because it is the High Wall of Lothric. So we just needed to fight that one boss there, and now we have access to the Claymore. Much like Dark Souls 1, the Claymore is under a dragon that is blowing fire breath on the ground, so we have to make our way over to it slowly but surely, almost dying, but we get our Claymore before we do die. The one thing I like about this Claymore iteration is the running heavy attack in this does a jump hit, and I love my jump hit. It's just so cool to see in a game that doesn't really have a dedicated jump button when you're not like full sprinting, that I can still do my jump hits. I enjoyed that very much. We run through to fight Vort of the Boreal Valley. This boss is pretty cool looking design. Like, I like the ice aesthetic he got going on. He's not a super difficult boss because he's just a big boy who likes to charge, and I can just play super aggressive, which is where I feel most comfortable in these games. I know they're not built for that, but that's just how I enjoy playing them. Fun fact, actually, this isn't related to what I just said, but I used to have a Pokemon card channel. I started at the same time I started this one, but nobody watched those videos. I think they all have like 10 views, so I gave up on that one. But there's a new Pokemon card set coming in this summer later, I think it is. The original 151 Pokemon. That looks pretty sick. I'm a big fan of Pokemon, so that made me very happy, and I'm just looking forward to that. Sorry, I just need to talk about that with someone. Anyways, we take out Vort, we raise the flag, and head onward. And we get picked up by the gremlins that take us away. Call back to Dark Souls 1. That's what Dark Souls 3 is. Dark Souls 1.5. They just make a whole bunch of callbacks to Dark Souls 1, which all feel really good. Like, it's sort of cheesy, but at the same time, like, that's how the story is. Like, this is Dark Souls 1 continued. It's like, it's the same world, just like years and years later. Like, everything's pushed upwards. Like, there's a lot more like mountainscapes. I don't really know the whole story because I was never a huge Dark Souls story person, but I can appreciate Dark Souls 3 for what it's doing for Dark Souls 1 and all the callbacks to it. Yeah, we make our way over to the Cursed Rod of Greatwood. I don't think this boss is like necessary to continue, but I liked fighting him, even though like in this playthrough I got owned by him. I know he's supposed to be just like a gimmick boss where you just hit his little like balls. I struggled a lot. Like, he killed me 3 or 4 times. I know I said a lot and then just said 3 or 4, but comparatively to most of the other bosses in this game, I struggled a lot on this guy. And because it was so like the drop down felt so time consuming, maybe that's why it felt like a lot longer. I wasn't doing a lot of damage until I popped his bubbles. I don't really know. And this game does have a lot of those gimmicky boss fights. Like, I know this one's about gimmick. The one where you hit the bracelets for the big like skeleton dude, that's a gimmick. And then there is you need the wind sword. We'll get there when we get there, but I don't use the wind sword because it is not the Claymore. Now, I guess I'll tell another story while I'm here, because I'm just not having a great time explaining all of the boss fights and what I do over and over again. I feel like it's boring as a viewer to be like, oh, and for this boss I snuck behind him and stuck to this side and did this. I don't know, just hearing that over and over again, it irks me, so I don't like doing that all the time. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about the first time that I ever got high. And I was in high school in grade 12, year 12, whatever you refer to it as, and I got a text from my friend saying, hey, do you want to come over? I was like, sure. I skipped school, went over to his house, and he was making these like edible like, I think it was like cake he was making, THC infused cake. So I had it, and at first, like, I didn't think I was high at all. I was like, I'm fine, but because I was really tired that day, so I just like thought like what I was experiencing was just being overly tired. But he then like pointed out, like, dude, you've been staring at the wall for 10 minutes. And I was just sitting there. It was like, nah, man, I'm just tired. Like, if I'm honest, I've never smoked weed at all. I've only consumed it through edibles, and every time I've had a drastically different experience with the drug. Yeah, we take out the Cursed Greatwood, and then we move onwards. Then we go help Sigurd, my favorite character. Okay, Dark Souls 2, no memorable characters. Not gonna lie, I didn't like any of them. Dark Souls 3 has Sigurd. Dark Souls 1 has Solaire and Sigmair, that guy of Katrina. He's in Dark Souls 1. I like him. I like Squidward over here. And Dark Souls 2 for me, no memorable characters. Bunch of lame guys. But I help him take on the demon because we're gonna need his questline. He's gonna save me later. After that, we head over to the Road of Sacrifices. Now, I don't go the optimal boss route. Like, I think you're supposed to go the Sage, and then you're supposed to go, after like you do that whole route, then you go go down and deal with the Abyss Watchers, but I did it totally backwards. I did the Abyss Watchers first. I just remembered that I needed to go down. I totally forgot about the whole chapel and that upper area until later, and surprisingly I didn't struggle. I felt like everything was still even leveled, which I don't think it was. I think I just took on a harder area earlier than I was supposed to. I'll take it though. I didn't like the poison swamp. I never do. The Feroth area. But yeah, we fight this asylum demon again because they made him here. I didn't know until too late after I used his soul that he gives Havel's ring if you trade in his soul, which I would have loved to grab. I love Havel's ring. I love Havel. I know you can find him before the Nameless King. Dark Souls 3 is the only Souls game that I played through all of the DLCs. Dark Souls 1 I never finished the DLCs. Dark Souls 2 I never started the DLCs. Dark Souls 3 though I played through all the DLCs and the best bosses were in the DLCs, so I understand what people are talking about. If it maintains the same quality across all the DLCs, then I probably should go back and try them at some point, just not anytime soon, because just beating those games, like I'm good. We don't need to play them again anytime soon. But yeah, we light all the flames and then we head into the Abyss Watchers fight. But yeah, like I said, every time I've had edibles, I've had a different experience. I take it to sleep past a couple of times. I only have them like a couple times a year, and it's when like my sleeping habits are like really bad because it does help me sleep. When I did have it in the past, I would get way different experiences. Like one time I stretched my legs straight out, like I'm sitting down, I like extend them and then I put them back to normal, and for the rest of the night they felt like they were like fully stretched out the whole time. What's with that? Why did I have to have that stretched feeling for the whole night? That's horrible, and I don't think anyone should have to deal with that. It just made me so uncomfortable. So I just went to bed because I didn't want to deal with feeling legs being stretched out. Pause. You know what I mean. My main weapon that I used in this game for my first playthrough was the hammer you get after killing the old demon king down to that tree area. That's probably one of thematically my favorite area in the game. It just looks so cool. Yeah, after killing the Abyss Watchers, that is one of 4 of the main bosses of this game, because the Souls-like formula has this sort of thing going on where you have to fight the lords of the bonfires, and then Elden Ring, they take that away and they just make you so you have to fight the shard bearers. At some point I pick up the ring that makes you look invisible when you dodge, and also ups dexterity, which my weapon partially scales off of, so that is nice, because the Claymore is more of a strength weapon than a dexterity weapon. Then we take on the High Lord Wolnir, which is just another gimmick fight. You just have to hit either bracelets. Once they explode, he takes lots of damage, and once they're all broken, he dies. Not much more to say about this fight. My first time ever playing it, I died to him because I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to fight his face, and I would die to smoke underneath him. I was like, what's going on here? Why am I not understanding this fight? And then made it very apparent that I'm just dumb and you just had to hit glowy thing. Yeah, this fight wasn't horrible. Probably like a D tier fight. I probably should have done the tier list thing while I was doing this, but I want to do it when I take on all the bosses. We take him out no problem, and then I get to Erithiel of the Boreal Valley. Once I make it to the very end, I realize that I can't go any further without a doll that I don't have, and that's when I realized I missed a whole part of the. I do like the Ember mechanic because it's sort of you can tell it's where they got the shard bearer thing from, the Ember adding more HP and buffing you in that way. They took that idea, that core idea, and then changed it for the shard bearers, which I do appreciate. I like gain HP for killing the bosses. It makes you feel stronger, you overtook them, you took their life, consumed their soul per se, and it buffed you for it. It just thematically, I like the Ember system a lot more than the humanity system. Yeah, then we take care of the crystal stage. The next boss on the hit list is the Cathedral of the Deep. They sort of do, this is where you can tell they got the idea for the Renala fight, the phase 1 Renala, where there is someone glowing. You have to attack that one, and that'll do the HP until eventually you have to fight the main guy. It really has feels of Dark Souls 2, just kill a room full of enemy that is HP bar, except it has the glowing person that has the HP bar at the time. Again, not much to say about this fight. Super easy. I was very over leveled for this area, so Deacons of the Deep wasn't challenging whatsoever. And that grants us that little doll that we needed to continue. On to the next boss, Pontiff Sullivan. This guy actually caused me quite a bit of trouble through my first couple attempts. He absolutely owned me, and then when I beat him on this attempt, he was an absolute pushover. I don't really know what happened, because I definitely didn't get any better at the fight. He just was missing me a lot, because of how the stairs are in the arena. He would just swing too high, allowing me to just do so much damage. And yeah, I'm actually gonna tell you about the first time I've ever been injured. I've never broken a bone, fun fact, but I got injured a couple of times. This is the first time I sprained myself. So it was winter time in Canada land here, so lots of snow everywhere, and one of the favorite pastimes is sledding. And at my old house there was a forest in right outside my backyard, and it was on a hill, so I would ride down this path. It was pretty a steep hill, I'm not gonna lie. I would go down it fine, and this one day I went down it, and I guess it was icy, so I went a lot faster and a little bit out of the normal pathway that I usually go down, and I smashed my right wrist off of this big branch. It's almost like a root how it was built, but I smashed my wrist off of this root, spraining it. And the worst part of it was not that I hurt myself, because like, yeah, obviously that sucked, but the next day we had a ski trip. I went cross-country skiing with a sprained wrist. That shit was horrible. I don't recommend that at all. I don't know why. I think it's because I already paid for the trip that I didn't want to like call it off, but that was a horrible experience. I don't regret going. That I shouldn't have gone. Yeah, I really like what they did here with the in Orlando, the callback. Like they had like the Archer run up. Obviously not as big or hard, thankfully, because that would have been horrible. We're just in Orlando all over again. I even found like the hidden wall that brought me to the chamber with nobody in it. It's kind of sad to see, like after playing Dark Souls 1 like so close to this one, it's so sad to see like how it has changed over time, but it's still like, I don't know, I love the cool concept that they did with in Orlando, and the fact that this boss, the Aldrich, is inside Ornstein Smo's arena, and yeah, just walking into here and just like, whoa, I was just here. The staircase, everything, like it's so cool seeing the decrepit building compared to how like lively it was just like 2 games ago. But before we take her on, I'm actually gonna like head down to the ethereal dungeon because I wanted to grab a gem which gave our weapon bleed, because that's the effect I'm going to be using on this iteration of the Claymore, as bleed is actually pretty good in this game. So we head down to the ethereal dungeon, and it'll be nice to have this waypoint for later. We run in and we pick up the profaned coal, and this is the one that gives us access to the bleed upgrade. So we infuse our weapon, slap blood on it, and just make our weapon a whole lot stronger. And then we take on Eldritch. Sorry, they're both Devourer of Gods, I guess. With our new bleed weapon, which will deal quite a bit of damage. She was actually very strong. I struggled a lot more than I should have, if I'm honest. Kind of owned me. But yeah, back to trips. Actually, I don't know if I have footage of it still. Maybe somewhere lying around. I kind of want to find it if I do. But I had a GoPro at some point, and I want to say grade 11. I want to say it was grade 11. We took a science trip and we went husky sledding. Like we had little doggies, not so little. Actually, they're kind of big, strong dogs. We rode a sled and they dragged it, and they were so happy. Like they loved doing it. It was so like mesmerizing how happy these dogs were dragging around these humans. And because I was lonely and didn't really know anyone in that class, I didn't have a partner, so I was the only person to have my own dog sled, which meant I went a lot faster because, you know, the weight of 2 people versus 1. My doggies freaking carried me so fast. That was an experience that I recommend to, if you do have a chance. Dog sledding, it's just so much fun, especially with a big group of people like that. I had so much fun. I had my GoPro on, I recorded it all, although I don't know where that GoPro is, but it'd be cool if I could find that footage, because dog sledding, like I said, it's just once in a while, it's something I think everyone should experience. And don't be a hater, alright? Those dogs were freaking happy. Like, you should, if you see the dogs doing the dog sledding thing, it's not like animal abuse or nothing. They're just like, they're living their best lives. They were so happy to be running around dragging these sleds. And these dogs get pretty freaking strong, and they don't stop for anything. Like, they hurt my ankle once because I was alone, they could pull me a lot faster than everyone else. And if I had slipped at all, like if I had stepped off of the sled, they weren't stopping and they were going so fast. So I would like smack, like one time I think my foot slipped and it went like in the middle piece, because there's like, it's so hard to explain how the sled was built, but there was like an opening in the middle, and it's, when I slipped in, it would like the back of it, because they're moving so fast, would smack my heel. So they smacked my heel a couple of times. That's probably the only downside of not having 2 people. Obviously I could have told them like heel or something, but like I had just slipped temporarily. Like I wasn't gonna make them stop over my mistake. That's just how I'd be thinking though. They were good puppies. I had a lot of fun with that. And we have killed the Eldritch here, getting our second Lord of Cinder dead. 2 more to go, and I end up breaking my timer again. So now you're not gonna see Dark Souls 1 or 2 like their times, but I'm gonna just like put in the times in post. This time it wasn't my computer crashing. This was just me being dumb. I forgot which hotkey was the reset button, and I had the global hotkeys on, and I reset the whole thing. But yeah, then we go talk to Sigurd down in the cell here, because we need, like I said, we needed to finish his quest line, and we do just that because he's gonna help us in this next fight. And honestly, I stopped to look this up because like I couldn't find his summon sign anywhere, and I was so used to how Elden Ring did it, where like if you do an enemy quest line and their summon sign appears. It's not like that. He gets his own dang cutscene. Look at this. Boy, he shows up just like walking behind us like, yeah, I got us, don't you worry. Dang, look at you, Sigurd. But yeah, he has the sword that can do damage to him. I don't, because it's not the Claymore, and I'm only using the Claymore. So you can see how much damage he's doing, causing him to kneel. And I'm just trying to, because I have bleed, I'm just going for like bleed procs, because that's like my only sort of damage to him. I do like a measly 70 damage, where he's doing like 2,000 to 3,000 every time he gets like one of them off. And this is a callback that I wish didn't happen in Elden Ring. We didn't need this fight again. Like, sure, Rykard's a thematically cooler boss than Yorm. Sorry, Yorm. Giants just are pretty boring. But the whole, like, the same weapon used, that's lame. I don't like it when they do doing that. I didn't realize that it was a callback until I played this game, and I was like, really? They took that idea from here too? I guess it gets a pass because Rykard is a cool fight. I'm glad they used it in that way. I guess I could look at it this way. I'm glad they used it that way after using it this way, because because comparatively this fight's just so lame, and I guess it doesn't help that I use the summon here, but like I said, I'm Claymore man, I'm not picking up that weapon, and yeah, he makes pretty quick work of him while I just do all the distracting. Me and Squidward win, and he has to take his nap because he's always sleepy. But that is our third Lord of Cinder, leaving one left, and now we have to take on the Dancer of Boreal Valley. This boss messed me up, I ain't gonna lie. Whenever he does his like dance where he goes like spins in circles, I couldn't get out of it. I just got owned. But yeah, speaking of sprain, I know this was a little bit earlier, speaking of sprained wrists, I actually sprained my fingers in grade 6, I think it was. Yeah, it was just before March break, and I was so excited because I wanted to go home and just play Call of Duty for like a solid week. I was so ready, and we were playing soccer or football, depends where you're from, but I call it soccer. And I was goalie. I always played goalie, and I had stopped the ball, so they shot it high. I grabbed it, I brought it to the ground, end of possession. That's it. Like the play is over, right? No, this little fucker comes up and starts like, trying to get the ball. So he kicks my fingers, bends them upwards, and sprains 2 of my fingers, my like middle finger and my pointer finger on my right hand. You know how mad I was? I couldn't play Call of Duty during March break because it hurt to move my fingers. I still played, it just sucked a lot more. But like that sucked a lot, and this kid didn't get in trouble. Don't worry, I don't condone fighting, but like when I came back from school, he got what was coming to him. That's all I'm gonna say. But that was a horrible experience for me. Young Curtis will never forgive that guy if I ever see him again for spraining my fingers in grade 6 before March break in a soccer game. But yeah, we take out the Dancer of Boreal Valley. Like I said, it was a pretty tough fight. I was struggling quite a bit. I had to resort to using these red pellets, which reduce fire damage because he does ice and fire damage with his double swords here. But thematically, like, this is a cool boss. I really like this boss, but it was just a lot for me to take in. Like, he moves so fast. And after that, it was time to move through the Lothric Castle. And I died one too many times to these wyverns that are sitting in front of the entrance because I forgot how to get to them to kill them. I just kept like brute forcing my way through the fire to get to the armor boss guy, and I would just burn to death so many times just trying to do it. Like there's a couple of times where I got through no problem, but I forgot how to get to them. Eventually I explored because I was not gonna lie, I was just trying to speedrun the game because I was like, oh, we're so close to being done this challenge, because I'd been playing Souls, like Dark Souls series all week, like the whole week where I didn't upload. So another like mini, I guess it's like a mini story, because this is the first like time I got pranked by my father. My father loves pranking people, and it wasn't the first time, it was the first big time. It's where like he stopped pranking us after this, basically is what I'm trying to say. I think I was like 13, 12, something like that, pretty young. This man wakes us up in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. on a school night, April Fool's Day. He waited till the morning, wakes us up out of dead sleep, and he's like, yo boys, because it was me and my brother at the time. He's like, yo, there's a fire, like we gotta go. I'm like, oh shit, we're gonna die. So I rush outside, me and my brother freaking out. We run down the stairs, we run outside in our boxers, by the way. So we're just out there 3 a.m. in the boxers, and my dad's just laughing at us. He's just like, like, we're like, why aren't you freaking out? And he's like, April Fools. You know how horrible that is? Like, I know it's funny now, like I can look back at it and be like, you got me good, but in the time I was traumatized. I like held it over his head forever as a child. I was like, anytime he would like try to do anything mean or something like that, I'd be like, hey, remember that time when you pranked me? I don't think you should do whatever you're doing. Or hey, I want a new PS4 game, remember that time that you traumatized me on April Fools? And I'd make him feel bad. Should I have done that as a child? Probably not, but we're not all perfect. What can I say? It's just how it goes. Yeah, I don't know if we're on the next boss or not, but after the Dragon Slayer armor, not much I want to say about that fight. It's a pretty good fight. I enjoyed it. But after the Dragon Slayer armor, we make our way up to the Prince fight, Lorien and Lothric. These guys took me a couple of tries just because I was struggling to dodge like the big slam down. I eventually learned how to do it, but that thing would, if I wasn't at full HP, it would just kill me. Or he would like jump and like land on me. I was never ready for that because whenever he teleported, I expected to like have the freedom, but no, he would just land on me and kill me or just do a lot of damage and like freak me out. But this fight was pretty good. I did enjoy it. We had bleed, so that helped a lot. The Lorien staggered a couple of times, so I tried to get poise breaks on him there, which is always good. I love doing the repose. It works similarly like this game, basically just Elden Ring. Elden Ring is Dark Souls 4. We all know that. Yeah, my favorite boss fight of all time probably is Fia, or is that her name? Like the three-phase fight. The three-phase fight or Gale. Those two fights in this game are so good. We don't do it in this playthrough, but those fights are my favorite of like the whole Soul series. Maybe because I struggled so much on them, but they just like stayed in my heart. How surprising was it when you kill her and you kill the big guy, and then you kill her and you're like, oh, okay, that's it. Boom, a third phase? What do you mean? So that's like really like that really like stuck with me. Probably one of my favorite bosses of all time. I don't know why I thought of her. I was just like thinking of good bosses in Dark Souls 3, and she's probably like top boss of all time. Yeah, this is the boss I was talking about that also does the Fortnite res, like the Dark Souls 2 final boss. But the good thing is once you kill like the little rat guy on his back, then the other one will just die as well. So that's a nice, like, that's the only like redeemable factor about this res fight. And I think this was the last Lord of Cinder that we needed before we fight the final boss. Yeah, we put all of the flames, the Lords of Cinder souls, I think it is, we put in here. I think that's what we're grabbing. We put all of these souls into the chairs, and then we are able to teleport over to the final fight, Flame, where it all began back in Dark Souls 1, where we had to fight ourselves. I think canonically that's how it goes. Pretty sure that's canon. I don't know. I'm not a lore guy. I'm just the guy who does the funny Elden Ring challenge run. Also, I've been getting a lot of like, I don't know if they're the hardcore guys or like very like normies. I don't know who's watching my videos, but recently there's been like a surge of comments that are just like, well, actually, you didn't do this challenge because you use melee damage. On the poison video in particular, they've been popping up quite a bit. It's like, okay, sure, fine, I did do physical damage, therefore it's not poison damage, and I guess you could say that invalidates quote unquote the run. But I said the rules at the beginning of the video. It's like, I know I use clickbait. Everyone uses clickbait. That's what I hated me for. Just say that I use clickbait, not that I nullified the run. I specify in the rules that I can use any weapon that deals poison damage. And how do I proc poison if the weapon isn't dealing poison damage? Some of these people, I don't know, but I just try to explain it to them, and if they hate me, they hate me. That's that. I ain't gonna like get angry about it or anything. It is what it is. I can't do anything about it. But boom, Lord of Soul of Cinder, this guy, this is a good boss fight, top tier. I really love the phase 2 because one, it's just really cool thematically. His like big attack is cool, and not only that, the music, oh, it hits so good. Like one, when he like tossed you up in the air, he's like and he's just tossing you like a ragdoll. That shit, like, you seem so strong at the moment, and I realize he's not, but he seems so badass there. And then the song, the remix of the original, oh my god, they killed it with it. So good. And we have killed the Soul of Cinder, and we get the Soul of the Lords. And that's that for Dark Souls 3. And I link the first flame, which I don't know if that restarts the cycle. I light the flame regardless because I've done that every single time. And boom, time. Speaking of time, 29 hours to beat all 3 of these games. This one was definitely the quickest. And now we're on to Elden Ring. All right, now we are on to Elden Ring, my favorite game of this Soul series, of course. And as you can see, we don't have a whole character creator. I accidentally deleted that footage because I chose the wrong class and started recording too late. And that's why the timer is also paused. It's because I wanted to run back to where I was before I continued it, because I was just scared of erasing the other time again. I didn't want to do that. So we unalive ourselves to the grafted Scion, make our way into the open world, head over to Melon of Torrent, and then we head all the way down to Castle Morn. And the reason why we're heading over here is because the Claymore is actually in Castle Morn. So you run up here on the side. As long as you stay on the right side, you should be fine. Like maybe 1 or 2 of them will chase you, but you enter this building here, and in this chest is the Claymore. And I believe it has the same requirements as Dark Souls 1 and 3. These games all share the same requirements, where Dark Souls 2 made the Claymore cost a lot more to obtain. Now that we have the Claymore, we go pick up some Sacred Tears, run over to Caelid, head over to the Knight's Cavalry, make him fall off the cliff, giving us enough levels to have a good amount of HP and the proper requirements for equipping the Claymore. And now that we have that, we head over to Margit. And the Claymore by default has Lion's Claw, and Lion's Claw, probably one of my favorite Ashavors. It's funny to do the funny front flip that does a lot of damage. It's really good for breaking poise, so I'm gonna abuse it a lot throughout this run. I know it had like an Ashavor in Dark Souls 3, but it kind of sucked. It was like the upward stamp ability from Elden Ring, and it just didn't feel good to use, so I never really used it. In Elden Ring, the running slash, my favorite attack, is no longer a light attack. It is now a heavy attack, and because I'm not really a heavy attack clicker, because they always seem a lot slower, I just forget to click it as much, and instead just go for jump hits if I'm gonna go for a heavy attack, which is unfortunate because that was my favorite part of, that was my favorite move to use with the Claymore as a light attack, just the running spinning slash. But yeah, we kill Margit here, and now it is time to move on to Godric. And because we have Lion's Claw, Godric isn't super difficult. Lion's Claw is just so strong. We don't have any of our sword isn't upgraded at all. We're waiting until we can get the bell bearings before we upgrade it. That's why I decided to do it in this run. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys for 5,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 5,100 by the time I'm recording this, which is crazy because the last time I uploaded was like, I don't know, almost 2 weeks ago now, and I had like 4,500 subscribers. So we went up like 600 subscribers since then, which is insane because I've just been working on this project. I'm so glad that everyone's been enjoying the videos and the content. Like I said earlier, I want to try to like work on these bigger projects and not like promise weekly uploads. Like if I'm just doing an Elden Ring challenge run, I can do those, I think 3 days now. Like they've become, unless they're like extremely difficult, I'm getting pretty good at Elden Ring, and those challenge runs aren't super difficult to make. One of the next videos I wanted to do is the convergence mod. I see a lot of people playing that on YouTube now, and I see that they have like a Scarlet Rot class, and you know, I love Scarlet Rot, so I think I'm gonna do a playthrough of that soon. I'm hoping to get this video out soon because my birthday's coming up and I want to do the whole birthday Q&A thing. I don't know what I'm going to use as background footage for that. Maybe just an Elden Ring run. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a bunch of different games. I haven't really decided yet, but if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see me play during that, let me know. I don't really care. I also wanted to get like a Pokemon video out for my birthday because I love Pokemon, so I wanted to get a video of beating Pokemon Emerald only using Cacnea. I still might be able to do that. I actually don't know though, because just depends how long it takes me, because I did like a test run of that like a couple years ago, because I've always wanted to start content creating. I don't know why it took me so long to do so. Maybe I was just looking for the right thing to start on, but I did a test run way back when and it went pretty well. Like obviously the fire gym annihilated me, but I had a lot of fun doing it, so I want to like revisit that idea. And we have killed Godric the Grafted. We make our way over to the rare Lucaria Crystal Tunnel, run all the way down to the Crystallian, and just constantly beat at him. He's not super difficult. We just constantly beat on him until we eventually do kill him, granting us the Minor Bell Bearing. As you can see, I'm going at a pretty good pace. We're at like 43 minutes into this run. Pretty crazy. We then grab the Academy Gate key and make our way into the Academy. Now, if I wanted to go as fast as possible, I probably should have just did Radon, because then I wouldn't have to fight the Red Wolf and make our way all the way through this. I feel like that would have been quite easier, but unfortunately, I decided to go this route, because I think theoretically, I could probably do one of those videos where like challenge to beat the game within 2 hours to like refund it on like a fresh Steam account. I've always like been mesmerized by those videos, but I always thought like I was too bad to like ever do something like that, like because I'm not a speedrunner. I always doubt myself when it comes to that sort of stuff, but like after doing this, I was like, wow, you know what, I could probably save a lot of time. Like I could go for like buffs and stuff, because I didn't go for any buffs. We're just using the Claymore, and I think it took, I want to say 3 hours and something to beat the game, which is pretty damn crazy. But yeah, the Red Wolf of Radagon, annoying but not hard, just annoying because he just spams crap. He goes for his big jump here, we get a nice poise break and just finish him off, killing the Red Wolf of Radagon. And now it's time for Renala. Phase 1 Renala, kind of boring, so we're just gonna skip by it. Now we're at phase 2 Renala. Look at that, power of editing. She shoots off her beam, we get behind her, we start throwing off Lion's Claws, because we're just trying to keep her on the ground. Like I'm just gonna spam Lion's Claw through this whole fight, because 1, it does massive poise damage, and 2, she can't attack me if she's on the floor like a little baby, so we're just gonna spam her with Lion's Claw and just absolutely own her. The only time it becomes annoying is when she summons stuff. Luckily she summons the wolves, so nothing super difficult. At least it's not Bloodhound Fang. That guy hurts a lot. Yeah, we just stay on Renala, just keep holding W towards her and get a nice jump hit there, poise break her and finish off Renala. Nice and easy. She didn't even say summon a dragon or anything. It's really quick Renala. Look at me go. Then we go grab both of the Dectus halves and make our way up to the Altus Plateau. Then we make our way over to the Sealed Tunnel to grab the second Minor Bell Bearing. After that, we take on the Margit for the Stamina Talisman. Then we upgrade our sword. And now it's time for the Draconic Tree Sentinel. And yeah, the Draconic Tree Sentinel, for the most part, we're just going for Lion's Claw. That's what I'm going to be doing for the majority of this playthrough, because it's just such a good attack. I realized during this fight I was actually one-handing my weapon, which isn't like me at all. I'm a two-hander. I don't like to go for those weak one-handed attack. But yeah, we just go for the poise breaks, try to like get him down to his like little staggered phase and then beat into him. The DTS didn't cause me any trouble. Got him to his lightning phase quite quickly. Then we just go for jump hits and lion claws until we eventually take out the Draconic Tree Sentinel. And then we head into the sewer. We go to Moog's Arena and steal the Erdtree's Favorite +1. And now it's time for Godfrey. But yeah, the Claymore was a pretty good weapon throughout all these games. Like I didn't have any like negative feedback to give about the Claymore, and I know I gave a lot of hate to Dark Souls 2, and that's just because I liked it, and it's not because it's a bad game. I just like to hate on it because I think it's funny. Like I honestly don't like some of the things that they do, but it's in no way a bad game like everyone claims it to be, because it inspires a lot of things that Elden Ring does, and after playing those games you can really see some of those things. And then a lot of people like Dark Souls 3 because of the nostalgia it gives to Dark Souls 1, and everyone gatekeeps Dark Souls 1 and like is obsessed with it. I admit they're good games, but Elden Ring on top, you know, as a new gen player. And we would take out, and after taking out Godfrey, we backtrack a little bit, jump in here, jump in this hole in the wall, run through here, grab the Sanctified Wet Blade, which we will be using, grab the Hero's Rune that's also in here. This is just a nice free rune, so might as well go pick it up. The reason why we picked that up is because I'm going to be using lightning on the Claymore, like I did in Dark Souls 1 and 2. But yeah, the way that like infusion works in this game is it needs to be attached to an Ash of War, and I don't want to lose Lion's Claw, so it's time to go over to Caelid. Get over to this fort here and take on the lion, because this lion does indeed drop Lion's Claw, and it's kind of weird, but I'm going to be putting Lion's Claw back onto Claymore that already has Lion's Claw, purely because I want the electric version of the Claymore. So after we take him out, which was quite easy, we just spam Lion's Claw, and then I put lightning on the Lion's Claw, which turns our sword into a lightning sword. After that, we took on Radon, and this is why I probably should have just skipped Renala and just went to Radon anyways, because I wanted Radon's armor, as it's tanky, quite easy to get, and just reliable, so that's why we're taking on Radon right here. The Ash of Wars are just so strong in Elden Ring. Like I understand understand why in Dark Souls 3 they weren't broken, because I feel like you can rely heavily on Ash of War to just carry you through this game. Like, you can just click the Ash of War button and you don't even have to like attack, like use regular attacks. You can just dodge spam and click Ash of War. That means so many of them just super strong, which I do like because it's fun to like own bosses with these unique moves. So yeah, whenever we see an opportunity, we're just gonna go for more Lion's Claws because it's doing like 700 damage a hit, which is crazy. He goes over into phase 2, lands down, and we just stick underneath him, start smacking away at him. We get a nice poise break there with that jump hit. I think that saved me because I think he was gonna own me, as I'm completely out of pot at this point, and the repose kills Radon, which now allows us to go buy the Radon armor. So we're gonna go do just that. After buying the armor, we head over and take on Morgott. And yeah, we just try to look for openings to spam Lion's Claw because it's just so strong, and I really like, I'm a big fan of the lightning. Throughout all these games, it's been very reliable. I'm pretty sure any of the status effects would be pretty reliable if I had to guess, but lightning, I don't know, something's always just stuck out to me with lightning. I've always like went for it. Like when I originally played through the games, I went for lightning, so I don't know what it is about it, but I just always been like drawn to it. He goes for swords here, and we just go for a nice phase shift here, just spamming Lion's Claw, and we get a nice poise break there, go for the repose, and just spam Lion's Claw until we kill Morgott. Nice and easy. We're 2 hours into the run right now, going pretty fast. And then we head up to the mountaintop of the giants. We make our way into the Zamor ruins and go grab the minor bell bearing number 3, go upgrade our weapon. And before we head over to the fire giant, we're gonna stop by this chair and pick up a couple of smithing stones. Then we're gonna go inside the skull mouth and pick up this ancient dragon smithing stone. And now it's time to take on the fire giant. We're gonna actually do die to him once, which is a major time loss because the fire giant just takes forever. But yeah, we get nice and close to him and we just start smacking away at his foot as per usual. And once we break his hair bandage, we then just start hitting Lion's Claws, because they're doing like 2,400 per Lion's Claw, which is just insane. Now once he moves away, we just hunt him down and start spamming more Lion's Claws. I don't know what it is about the Claymore that like drew me to it in the first game. I don't know why, but I've always enjoyed this weapon. Like, I was thinking about it when I was playing it. I was like, what is so different? Because like the halberd is in every game. There's like certain type of weapons that are always going to be in these games, like the clubs, stuff like that. Why am I so drawn to the Claymore? And I just couldn't answer it. It's just like a very appealing sword, I guess. Now we're in phase 2. We just start hitting front flips on his hand. We get a nice poise break right off the bat. We go for the repose on his eye there. And now for the most part, we're just be sticking by his thick thighs and using our Lion's Claw to do some good chip damage to him. Oh, we actually get burnt up there a little bit. But in the Discord server that I'm releasing with this video, I actually have a channel for like video suggestions, because I know you guys love commenting those video ideas for me. So I have like what I already have planned out to do eventually in that channel as well. So there won't be any like repeat comments. So if you're curious what videos are going to be upcoming, you can just check there. I'm very transparent. If someone steals my idea, I'll just do it better. I'm just confident like that I could perform my idea pretty well. Maybe they could do it better than me, but so I'm not worried about people like stealing my ideas. You can go for it. And we have killed the fire giant. We then head over to Fair Missoula, get to the grace in front of the Godskin duo, and then we teleport out because we're gonna go grab the Fevers cookbook, grab a couple pots, and then save this guy for some mushrooms. And now we can craft some sleep pots. And now that we have the sleep pots, we're gonna GG easy the Godskin duo. Now we start the fight out. We just throw one at Big Boy. He falls asleep. ZZZZ. I throw one at Small Boy. Unfortunately, he stood right behind Big Boy. This is worst case scenario. You don't want them beside each other when they're sleeping. You want them separated, because then boom, then look at that. I already hit both of them. They're already woken up. Wasted pots. Luckily, I poise break this one really quickly, doing a lot of damage. So I was like, okay, I'll just throw it at Big Boy. He can sleep, and I can just take the 1v1s. As you can see how much chip damage he took just from getting hit once. And look, they both fell asleep there. Look how cracked that is off of one pot. That's super lucky. We go for another Lion's Claw here. Go to pot up, and then I go for the repose, because when they're sleeping, you can just get a free repose there. So I'll take that gladly. Back into his dead body, get that free damage off. And now it's time to just hit some front flips on Big Boy. So we do just that, and the sleep pots make this fight super easy. I was always against using them in my regular playthroughs because I felt like it was too easy. But in this playthrough, I didn't really care. I just wanted them dead. So I'm going to abuse the sleep pots. He spawns back in. We put him right back to sleep, because that sets us up for some more nice, easy Lion Claws, doing massive amounts of damage to him. Get a nice poise break there. He actually almost killed us. Get that damage off. I go back up and heal. He goes phase shift. We get another Lion's Claw off. We back up to heal, bring our FP back, and then we wait for him to try to summon. He does it immediately, which makes it nice and easy for us, because we just have to take 2 more Lion's Claws and he is dead. And now it's time to take on the Big Boy. I think I have one more sleep pot. Yes, I do. Will it put him to sleep though? Find out. Oh no, we got really unlucky there because it wasn't enough. That first sleep pot that we wasted costed us a lot. But now I'm just trying to like wait out until he goes for his summon. I really don't want to like die. He does summon his friend in pretty quickly. So we go for Lion's Claw there, and then I know he's just Lion's Claw away. So I can just tank his hits and take out the Godskin duo. And this also grants us the minor bell bearings 4. So I can now get my sword up to plus 25. We stop by and pick up the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman plus 2. Upgrade our weapon. Now it's time to take on Malakath. Now Malakath I did die to a couple of times. Not gonna lie, still not great at this fight. I think he killed me like 4 or 5 times. times. Well, as per every other fight in this game so far, we just spam Lion's Claw whenever we see the opportunity to, because I know you're tired of hearing this, but it's just so good. I don't know what to tell you. It's just freaking cracked. So we're gonna keep abusing it. We phase shift him quite quickly, and now it's time for Malekith. Malekith's a different story though, not super easy. We get into a nice position and go for Lion's Claw. Get a poise break on the first one. Does a nice 1k damage. I'll gladly take that. I go for another Lion's Claw because he was just down and out right there. And what I was trying to do when on my failed attempts was try to finish the fight too quickly. I kept rushing it, thinking like I was speedrunning. I was under the mindset I gotta get the game done as quick as possible. So I would always go for like a second Lion's Claw when I didn't need to, and I'd always get punished for it and die, losing time overall just because I wanted to like rush through the game. He goes for a slam down attack. We go for a Lion's Claw there. Now I know he's one shot. He goes for his little jump attacks there, and I'm just waiting for him to come to me. I don't want to rush him and let him and potentially mess up. So he swings over to me, go over for a running hit, and finish off Malekith. And this time, we're not picking up Urch's favorite +2. We only need +1. That's all we need. Now it's time to fight Gideon. We sneak up behind him, get a nice backstab in, doing a nice 1k damage, and then he runs away, unfortunately. He gets that damage off on me, and what we're going to be doing is just trying to spam Lion's Claw, because if he gives us a chance to, it just knocks him to the ground. It's the same thing as the Renala fight, in the sense where if he's on the ground, he can't attack me. So we hit him with Lion's Claw there, and we combo it and kill Gideon quite easily, because he just gets back up and just gets hit right back down. Couldn't really do much to me there. And now it's time for Godfrey. Yeah, if you're still watching the video all the way this far, and I don't know how long this video is going to be, I just know it's going to be long. Thank you. I truly do appreciate you. Question: what type of games do you enjoy, like genre wise? Like, do people like survival games still? Because I know like was big. I don't know if it's still big, but it's something that I would like to like try on the channel, like Subnautica. I haven't played Subnautica, and it's mainly because I'm scared of the Leviathans. I get scared easily throughout these horror-esque games, so that's why I kind of, which is a problem because I also love them. So if you play survival games, let me know, and which ones, and like what other type of like genres. For the most part, I'll play anything, but my favorite genres are first-person shooters, Metroidvanias, Souls-like. Some action adventure games are cool. Like I really like Devil May Cry 5. I had a lot of fun with that. We get Godfrey into phase 2 here, and now it's time for Horalu. And we just, whenever he tries to grab me, that's when I go for the attacks. I'm not gonna risk anything because I also died to Horalu quite a bit trying to play super risky, getting myself killed constantly, because then he would just get like a lucky grab on me, get like choke slam me and kill me. He goes for this big slam down here. I go for Lion's Claw. I tank that damage. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. Get the nice heal in here, get the dodge off, and yeah, he tries to grab me here. Take the opportunity to get a Lion's Claw. Probably shouldn't have went for that either, but it is what it is. We only have one flask left for healing. Things are getting risky. He goes for his big ground move here. That's to run out of the way. Wait for him to dash at me. He goes for another grab attack. We get the dodge off. Go for a Lion's Claw. Tank some more damage that we didn't need to. And then we finally kill Horalu after just keep running away and baiting out his grab attacks. This fight pretty normal. Now that Horalu is dead, it is time to take on Radagon. We go for Lion's Claw right away, doing a nice chunk of damage. Go for the spinning slash there. Favorite move. We go for another Lion's Claw, but it puts us in front of him, so it damages us, unfortunately. But yeah, we just try to take any opportunity we can for go for more Lion's Claws, because it's so low risk when you know you have like the correct opening. Might as well go for it. You get the most damage out of it than you would going for like a 3-hit anyways, and the poise damage is insane, and you can't get hit out of it. Now we stick to his backside, go for another Lion's Claw here, putting into quote-unquote phase 2, where he like is more aggressive and he does his teleporty crap, which I don't like. We get a nice poise break there, but unfortunately we were behind him, and Radagon's like one of the few bosses in the game where you can't do the poise break from the back, unless I'm just bad. I've never been able to do it. He goes for his big 3 slams now, and we're just smacking up on him, getting that nice damage in because we didn't have any FP, so I couldn't go for more Lion's Claws. I think it's because I wanted to save most of my FP for the Elden Beast, because the Elden Beast is also a pain to deal with. Get some nice dodges off, and we finish off Radagon. We got a nice poise break there. That's pretty convenient. And now we have one FP pot left after our bar, so we're kind of limited on Lion's Claws, but that's not going to stop me from spamming them right away. Look at that damage. That's some nice damage. He goes for his flamethrower attack. We get behind him and do more Lion Claw attacks. We get a nice poise break while he's trying to swim away here. Go for another Lion's Claw because his poise animation is so long, so I can do that and get the repost off, doing a fat amount of damage. I'm so glad we're on the final fight. Like, I'm definitely going to interpret like talking while I play more often, because I don't want to do this again. I don't want to sit here and talk for hours straight. I'm running out of things to talk about. I'm just trying to commentate over the game now. Like, if I sat down and planned more things out to talk about, probably could, but I did that at the beginning and ran out of like all of my like key talking points during the Dark Souls 1 playthrough. So yeah, go for more Lion's Claws here. We get a nice poise break right when he's doing Elden Stars, which is honestly great timing, so we get those nice iframes, so we don't have to deal with the Elden Stars attack. He goes for another flamethrower. We get nice and close to him, trying to outrun run it. Unfortunately, it catches me, and we are now out of FP, so I can no longer spam Lion's Claw. So it's all just raw Claymore damage now, baby. Completely out of flasks now. It's gonna be down to the wire. He goes for rings here. We're just gonna run away in the opposite direction, hop over all three, and then he should spawn. Oh, he spawns inside of the middle of the ring there. Give a nice jump hit there, and then he's gonna go for his big explosion, which kind of scares me. So I just spam roll away. Doesn't work out for me. Go for a jump hit. I am low. We share like the same HP bar at this point. He goes for, I think we're also still the same HP bar. I go for the jump hit there, and I can't really take any more damage or else I lose. Go for another jump hit. Jump hit. We get a poise break, which will be enough to finish off the Elden Beast. And that, my friends, is the Claymore Marathon. So good to finally finish playing all these games back to back. Yes, they're all great games in their own right. I am not a speedrunner, a pro player. This was hard, and I'm so glad it's finally over, and I don't have to play the other three for a while, and I can just focus on what I'm good at. See by the timer, that was the quickest by a long shot. 3 hours and 25 minutes to beat Elden Ring. That's crazy fast for me. Like definitely a lot of self-reflecting throughout this whole playthrough. And if you guys did watch all the way through, I personally want to thank you. I do really appreciate it, and I'm glad we finished it when we did, because the storage that these games take, like it was cutting it close on, like I think it almost took like 900 gigabytes of storage to record all this. I'm like down to like my last bit of storage as of finishing it. It's been a long week doing this. If you did enjoy this, be sure to subscribe. I do appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video later.
The fallen leaves
Tell a story.
tell a story.